Good evening.
Hi, Richie.
Sorry.
Okay, so that's okay. Don't worry. We are.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then I didn't say Rishi. I said Richie.
Oh, okay.
We're often confused, David.
Easy mistake to make.
Yeah, the premise is in
But
Egypt.
it is yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we are up to a new sugya. Yeah. Okay. So we're up to a new sugya just by we're at the bottom of Lamed Beis Samad Aleph. Lamed Beis Samad Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom in new sugya. Just by way of very, very brief introduction, we'll dedicate this shir L'ilui Nishmas late Rav, my father's late Rav Chaim, Moshe Aaron ben Mordechai Hul. The Zavai was, well, this evening from Golden Scream, tomorrow in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. Well, of course, you've got your side as well. And also L'ilui Nishmas Jeremy's late mother was Bridal Basra Rabbi Birnbaum. Yeah. And one of the reflections that we've often thought about, I've discussed with my father on many occasions, is the power of a weekly Gemora shir. No. How many Masechtas, Dad, can I know learn with Rabbi Hu? What year did you start the shirim? 77. And how many Masechtas did you get through?
3 or 4. So I'm having still with Shabbos.
No, but there was twice, wasn't there? Because there was the Gemora.
Sound's gone. Robert, the sound's gone.
Sure, we just did the one.
Yeah.
The Toras is still going.
Yeah. But it was. But the point is that it was that he one of the most one of the tremendous strengths of Rabbi Hall was that he had principles and he stuck to them and he kept going and he knew, like Rabbi Kiva and the Rock, it would have an effect. It would have an effect, and he created generations of people who respected learning, who loved learning as a result of that. It was an amazing thing, and it's there's so many different things. Yeah, of course.
When I was first there, we never been to Yeshiva and haven't had any Gemara.
Yeah.
But we sat down and we sat through Gemara shit, and after 40 years you get to know something.
And most of those Balabatim then sent their kids to Yeshiva.
Sure.
That's the point. That was the impact. When he started decades before, their kids were very small, but then they didn't have kids. I wasn't born. I was born in 81. Okay, anyway. So what?
Apparently, you started the US Chavra Kadishan, started the US.
Yeah,
the first US
mikveh, the Chavra Kadisha, seed as well, also started there. There's so many different things. Yeah, it's an incredible legacy.
Yeah. Right.
So, Lamed Beis Samad Aleph, Hahodom Chavrei, my boys Bahai Ara. Someone said to someone else, my boys Bahai Ara, what are you doing inside this land? So that seems like quite an innocuous statement. My boys Bahai, what are you doing in the land? Amalei says to him, so back to him, I bought it from you. Simple. The Hoshtara. And here's the document. Here's the documentation. Now this is a very different track, okay, than everything we've done so far. He doesn't claim chazaka, right? It's a case of toyin v'nitan. He says someone says to someone else, what are you doing in this piece of land? And he says, well, I bought it from you. And I'll prove it. I've got proof, Hoshtara. But the guy responds and says, top of the next comment, it's a false shtar. So you've got a forged shtar, forged document. Your documentation is worthless, he says to him. And it's also, you've got no chazaka. So you're nothing. That's his counterclaim. Now, this guy who had the documentation, he bent down and he whispered to Rabbi, who was listening to the exchange and would obviously have to paskin. And he said, yes, shtar zayfu, it's true. It's a forged shtar. It's true. It's right. He's caught me. Miu, however, but I had a great shtar. I had a really good one that was perfectly kosher, and it was lost. So Vaminos, I thought to myself, Inket hai bidoy koldu. So I'll show the forged one because at least it's something. This is very interesting turn of events here, right? What is at the heart of this shaila ostensibly, Jeremy, I can't see you. Ostensibly, when take it down, otherwise how can I see you? You don't. Ostensibly, the guy has he's a crook, right? It seems, right? Because he showed forged documentation. You'd think that would be like the three strikes. What did they call it? And you're out, right? But that's in one go, right? He's lost everything because it's forged. But it's not so simple. It's not so simple because Rabba, there's a svara here. Rabba argues potentially that there's a logical reason to give him a degree of believability in what he said. Omar Rabba said, Malo l'shaker. Why should he lie? Why should he be telling a falsehood? Iboy Omar Shtora Ma'al Yahu. If he wanted, he could have said, it's a kosher star, it's a kosher star, it's a publicly good star. He could have challenged the guy who said it's a forged star and said, no, this is a completely valid star. And because of that, right, we should believe him when he says it's actually a forged star, okay, but I had a good one and that one's lost. So now, obviously, this is what we call it migoy or malo l'shaker. Why should he be lying? If he was lying, because it's a better lie. The better lie would have been it's the real thing, right? It's perfectly kosher. If he wanted to lie, so say a much better lie. What's the better lie? The better lie puts him in a better place. I mean, you just challenge the guy that you've got a document. The guy says it's forged. You say it's not forged, right? Simple, yeah. No, one second. So Rabbi says, because he could have said a better lie and did not, we should believe him when he says a bit of a dodgy, a shvacha lie. In other words, believe him that it's not a lie. That's the point. That's the logic of Malo d'Shaka. However, obviously, this rests on one critical point, which is it must be the other guy doesn't have clear evidence that it's forged. Obviously, right? Which is Rashbam is going to discuss. It must be. It can't be an open shut case that it's forged. If you're gonna prove, if you've got proof that it's forged, okay, then obviously there's no. All bets are off, right? There's nothing to talk about. You don't think so?
Where's the burden of proof? Someone comes out with the star. Surely someone else will dispute.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. So we have to see exactly what the case is. Mr. Rashbam is going to set out for us, right? Shtarmon, we'll see. Jeremy, you had a question? Why don't we say we don't believe him? Why should we say we don't believe him?
Why you're saying we are believing him because
Rabbi says I've got logical reason to believe him. There's a svara on his side. Yeah.
I was thinking back to last week when we had this whole to the chuppah and someone says there's a reason not, and it says no now.
No, it's totally different. Here we're talking here. It's called Toin Viniton. I've got a claim. You've got a counterclaim. Based on have to decide. Who is believed, or who is not believed, right? Okay, and therefore, and Rabbi says, I'm going to go with the svara, with the logic, and I have a logical reason to believe him. Yeah. Now Rav Yosef, Amalei Rav Yosef, okay. Rav Yosef back to him. We'll see Rashbam in a second. Rav Yosef said to him, why are you relying on this star? This star is a piece of earthenware. It's a piece of junk, which implies that's perhaps what they used to write the Toras on. A piece of earth, pieces, literally pieces of earthenware, right? Piece of pottery. Okay, so Rav Yosef just says, okay, forget that. It's no good, right? Now, again, we have to see what exactly the machlokas is. Let's see the Rashbam. Rashbam says top of the almond. Yeah.
Let's say forge something. Do they not have a chazaka then being a liar or a false witness? If they wasn't going to say this, once you admit you're a forger,
Then what?
What's your chazaka to be telling the truth about it?
Well, it's true that that logically you should say they lose credibility. That he loses credibility because he's admitted to have used a forged document, right? But
there's a reason.
There's also a migoy. There's also a logical reason to say that he's telling the truth, because since he could have got away, right, as we'll see in the Rashbam, he could have got away with passing this off as a completely genuine star, okay, and he would have won. And he would have been able to keep the land, okay, right? Then the fact that he owned up and said, actually, it's true. I used this star, even though it was not a valid document, right? Why? You can see what's going through this guy's head, because I know it's mine. I know legitimately the land is mine. I own this land. I bought it fair and square. But I'm in a difficult place. I lost my documentation. So I put something together that was not really, well, we'll see exactly what the case is, right? I had something, and I used this documentation, which wasn't valid, but actually it's legitimately mine. I understand. Pause your question a second. Let's see the Rashbam and let's see if it still exists, right? The star is forged. So you haven't got any chazaka and you've got forged star. Gochin Balashtar, the owner of the document, bent down, lochish the rabba. He whispered to Rabba Benachas quietly, Shelo Yishma Hama'ara, so that the person who is challenging him shouldn't hear. It's an interesting thing, that, by the way, because it puts a Dayan, or Rabba in this case, who's acting obviously as in that capacity, in a bit of an invidious position, right? Because he's being told quietly, arguments on the side and everything else. Okay, but that's what happened in Shtor Zaifu. Now, Pirush Rabbeinu Chananel. So Rabbeinu Chananel explains now the Rashbam here basically gives three different approaches to understanding how this Gemara can be explained. The first is Rabbeinu Chananel. Rabbeinu Chananel says, "Lav Shtor Zaifu Mamish." It wasn't a completely forged document, like a just literally, totally forged. Elo Kumoy Shtor Zaifu. It's like a Shtor Zaifu. It's like a forged document. Shalei Nichtav Al Mechirozu. It wasn't written for this sale. It wasn't written for this sale. Umayniu. And what is this? It's a shtar amona. It's a shtar amona du bottle, which is nullified. Now, a shtar amona is basically a document on trust, where basically you can write a document which is valid. It's got signed adim, everything else, right? And you give it to someone so that when in the future you lend from them, you borrow from them, right? Then they have the document to be able to get it back from you. Why would you do that? Could be multiple reasons. You've got the sofa now, you've got the Adam now, maybe you don't know how to write. It's useful for you that the person you may have to borrow money from in a month's time has got the documentation already. Now, it's a high-risk strategy, obviously, because he could come along to you, even if you don't borrow the money, and say, you owe me money, right? I've got a document that proves it, right? And that's why it's called a shtar amona. Okay, amona as in emuna, right? So it's given on trust, not amona as in a coin. Not an orphan, no, as in... it's like emunah, like faith, right? So shtar mona, on trust, exactly. That's right. A shtar mona, right? Du bottle, which is basically nullified. It's not usable because it's only a shtar mona. There's all halachas, I think, about a shtar mona, and that's why I think he says it's bottle, because I don't think it hasn't got validity because it's a shtar mona, because it's a shtar which is given on trust. So and I think elsewhere the halachas of what to do with a shtar on trust is discussed. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually later on in this. I think it's like in this paragraph elsewhere. Anyway, either way, that's what he did. Now, is there an amount written in such a shtar? See, that's the thing. Yeah, there must have been obviously obviously the right. Well, it's not an amount; it's for the field. This is a piece of land. Yes, so obviously the shtar matches up to the details of the sale. I mean, otherwise it's not. It can never been used, right? So it is a shtar which basically documents this piece of land. You love the oidi betan, but I think shtar by definition is bottle. However, he loved the oidi betan. No say the tovea the shtar zayfahu. If not for the fact that he had admitted, the other guy admitted, okay, that it was a forged document. Love kol kuminei. He couldn't have, there's nothing the other guy could have done to it. In other words, if not the person holding the shtar, it's true as a shtar amon, right? It was a shtar which was given on trust. But if not for the fact that I admitted that that's what it was, the other guy, was nothing he could do. There's nothing to do. Why? Because the witnesses recognize their signatures, okay? And as far as anyone else knows, it's a completely valid piece of documentation. So this is a very big difference to saying, oh, it's forged, external evidence that it's forged. We don't have external evidence. I bring a challenge and I say, that shtar that this guy is bringing to prove the land is his, it's not a valid shtar. I gave him that shtar on trust. It's a shtar mona, and everyone knows a shtar mona's bottle. So if the guy challenges that, the other guy says, no, this was a completely valid piece of documentation that I got, right? I bought the land from you. There's nothing you can do. It's got Edim on, it's got everything. No one's going to be able to challenge it. You're with me, right? No one's gonna... So therefore, because of that, because of this, Omar Rabba says, Malo l'shaker, v'lo mashtara ma'alyo, havali ve'erchas. Why should he lie and say, I had a good document which was lost? Lemor, let him just say, Hi shtora lav zaifohu. He could just say, this document wasn't forged. Do you have a boy in a kiyume, mekayimle? Because if he wanted to be mekayim the shtar, how are you mekayim a shtar? Basically, you verify the signatures of the edim. Yeah, that's how you basically mekayim a shtar. They come into Beis Din, or sometimes there's all different ways of mekayim a shtar. I think it's through Beis Din. Basically, if he wanted to be mekayim the shtar, he could have been mekayim it. He could have bought the edim, and the edim would have testified, yes, that's our signature, no problem. And he didn't do that. What did he do instead? He voluntarily admitted that he voluntarily told the true, what he says is the true story. And the true story was that it's true. This document was actually a shtar amona. It was actually not the real documentation. The real documentation he gave me 2 months later when he actually bought the field. When I actually bought the field, he gave me a proper shtar that says, I own this piece of real estate in Lower Manhattan, for example. I mean, because, we think of plot of land, we think of plot of land like a bit of waste ground outside, but there are different plots of land. Yeah, if you have a plot of land that's a square, whatever in there, that's a serious plot of land. So he says, and so you can imagine now. Come back to Eli's point. So Eli said, hasn't the guy been revealed as a liar? Okay, but you can have a little bit more sympathy for this guy now, can't you? No, he spent a fortune and he bought a piece of property. Okay. But he's going to prove it. He's got no shtach, he's got no shnei chazak. So what does he think? I remember, I've got in my safe that shtar amona, which I know is not a valid shtar, but ultimately I bought the land. It's definitely mine. I just got this documentation. So, and no one can disprove. No one can disprove this document. This document is got kosher edim on. You with me? No one's going to disprove it. So I'm going to come to Beis Din with this document. Have you got a bit more sympathy from Eli? No. Still no go, right? Nothing. No? You got no sympathy at all, right? It hasn't helped. If you're in that position, I'm not saying you should do it, but Ellie, you don't think so? Still thinking it over. No, I'm serious. Because, you said a very, very important question. She was like, the guy's a crook, yeah, because he used forged documents.
Did he forge them? Is that what he's saying? I forged the documents.
So that's what I'm saying. They're not forged documents. They're not forged. It's not much. It's a shtar amona. Basically, what it is that this guy ended up with 2 pieces of documentation. He ended up with a real document that was given to him when he actually paid the 200,000 pounds for the piece of land, right? And he lost that. So he's got a real problem now because he knows that if he's challenged, there's nothing he can do. He's going to lose the land. So what he thinks is, he says to himself, it's okay. Why? Because I remember a couple of months ago, or a year ago, or 5 years ago, okay, he gave me a shtar amona. Why did he do that? It's not entirely clear. Why would a document pass hands and to say maybe it was that was that was kind of like an intent to sell or that, whatever. But that's what that's the type of scenario where you have some document, right? That's the point.
No,
it's not a forgery.
It's just not
a valid. It's just not a valid.
He's not actually. If he forged a document, that's one thing. But he's not. He's just.
It is dishonest. Yeah, but it is dishonest to present a document. Yes, that is invalid.
He's misrepresented them.
Yeah, there's different things forgery.
Look.
It's my land. He says, I've lost the shtar.
Yeah.
So unless he's been on that land for 3 years, he has no rights to that land.
Well, there's no way of claiming that it is. And I can say no way of proving, that it is. If I don't have documentation within 3 years, I've got a serious problem because you're supposed to keep your documents for 3 years. Once you yeah.
It's in fact, that's what I'm struggling with. Where's his dishonesty?
His dishonesty is.
She says it's not valid.
He said to the original guy, I bought it from you and I've got a document.
Yes.
Right. Where's his dishonesty?
So the dishonesty. Yeah.
He goes, well, when I said I had a document, what I meant was, is I had the original, particulars of the property, but I know it's mine because of X, Y, and Z. So, as you say, he hasn't forged a document. he's misrepresented them.
But it's a little bit worse than that, David, because he has actually presented this
That
invalid
as
document.
as a valid.
He's actually tried. He tried to pass this one off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he tried to pass this off.
But he's come clean without being wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the question obviously is,
No, he wasn't. He could be,
The other guy said it's important.
he could be lying.
Or-
he has-
No. So he could be lying, but Rabbi says he could be lying. But Rabbi says, why would he lie? If he was lying, yeah, why would he lie? If he was lying, what he would do is he would say something much better. He would say a much better lie. That's the point. That's Rabbi's law. That's a migui. That's the svara. If you're going to lie, just don't. Just say, what do you mean? It's probably kosher star, and no one can disprove that. He does what? He does what? So the case, the scenario, according to Ben Hananel, this is just the first pshat, is that it cannot be, it would not be revealed. There's no way you can be Makayim, you bring Adam to Beis Din, Adam say, we signed this document, there's nothing you can do. Cool?
The difficulty I've got with the Migui construct is that it doesn't case for people either being lower intelligence than average or higher intelligence than average. Because if some people are stupid and like they could argue the way they just weren't intelligent enough to do that. There are a lot of silly people. Or someone who's very clever will know and then be able to play the system, game the system by saying, you know, I cannot come up with a half baked argument.
I prefer the Migui for the fake document argument than for the Amona, the Shtar Amona.
It's the same.
But it's not quite the same because the Shtar Amona is a valid shtar. It's just not valid as a proof of ownership. But
It's bottle. The halacha is that the star is bottle.
But it's better than our contract.
Yeah. You can't do anything with it.
The point is that he didn't forge it, did he?
No, he didn't forge it.
He didn't forge it, whereas the other document, the first case, he does.
There's no forging for the first case. No, this is the first one case. All one case. We've clarified what we meant when we said forged document.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. We've clarified. Of course, that's the point. We didn't really mean a forged document. We meant a shtar amon.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. There will be two cases. So slowly. At the moment, it's just one. Now, the point is, just to come back, the point of Migo, Paul, you make a very important point, which I want you to keep in mind because it's something we should probably, and hopefully we'll be able to revisit. Migo only goes so far because of the fact, and perhaps one of the reasons is because of the points you raise, that a Migo is a logical argument, which does depend on a set of assumptions in terms of the person's mental capacity and ability and deviousness, perhaps, or not, or whatever, etc., right? So there are various constraints around Migo, such as, one of the ones that Toras discusses here on Rav Yosef, we don't say Migo lahotzi momon. We can't say a Migo alone to take money away from someone else. So you can't just, what I'm trying to say is Migo is not a like a license for clever rabbis to, seriously, to create kind of towers in the sky, claims which are outrageous. That's not the idea of a Migo. Migo has to have a fundamental basis, and it's got checks and balances on it to know when you can use it or not. So we have to see that. Now, this is the opinion of Rabbeinu Hananel. The next approach, they're all variations on a theme about why it's not really a forged star. In Migo's logic, isn't it? It's a svara. By definition, it's logic. No, logic. It's logic. Logic. Inami alternatively, ikala firushi, you can explain as follows: Zaifa, ikala firushi zaifa, shtar mezuyaf mamish. No, we could say it's a really completely forged star. Shezayif chasimas for Edim yofer. He forged the signatures of the Edim really, really well. The term or Edim, and to the extent that the Edim would make a mistake, kasvurim chasimas ideim, and they'll think that this is their own signature. Or Makayim Mesashtar, and they will be Makayim the star themselves. He could be Makayim the star and say that it is a proper kosher star. Now, this is a much simpler pshat in the Gemora, in the wording of the Gemora. You understand? It's very important to understand that because this pshat of the Rashbam, the second one, not Rabbeinu Hananel, has got a benefit to it and it's got a downside, right? The benefit to this pshat is it fits much better in the words because it is genuinely a forged star, which is what the Gemara says. He said, yes, it's a forged document. However, I had a good one and I lost. So it fits much better with the words. Problem is what? Is that Eli's problem is much, much bigger now, according to this pshat, right? Because this guy, he's really using a forged stuff. It's complete forgery, right? It's just such a good forgery that no one would ever catch him out, which is why you've got a migo. Make sense? It makes sense, no? What was that? He's admitting that it's a forgery, but the reason why the migo still exists is because, in other words, what's the migo? The migo is yeah. He would have said it's a great star. He didn't need to say it was. He didn't need to say it was false, and no one would have known. So the fact that he did, means that we should believe him. What should we believe him? Believe his story. His story is, I had a good document. It was lost. I just decided to use this one instead.
The question is, how did the Murakami know it was forged?
How did the Murakami know it was forged?
If it's such a great forgery,
yeah.
what was the basis for
Well,
saying?
the Murakami knows he sold it.
Yes.
Right? So therefore, if the guy is telling the truth, the Murakami knows he sold it to him. So why is he challenging it anyway?
Yes.
Yeah, because he knows he sold it to him. Yeah.
Well, unless
he didn't tell it. So you could say he's the nefarious one, because what he's trying to do is he's aware that it's something that's still a problem with the documentation.
That's right.
You think, you know what?
Right.
I can get back to this prime site in,
right.
Downtown Chicago.
That's right.
Yeah.
He thinks he can get it. Yeah, he
wants to get it back because ultimately he's had seller's remorse and realizes that this plot of land is now, going to be, part of the HS2 highway.
That's
and he wants it back.
That's right. That's right. You have many, many cases where people want to do that, right? Rabbi Yaakov Emden here has a little addition here. He says that because the Rashbam scenario is that the Eidim make a mistake. They will think it's their signature. I think he's struggled a bit with that because, who says they will? Who says they will make a mistake? It's not clear. It's not 100%. Again, for a migo, it's got to be like 100%. Since he could have said, right? Since I could have said, like, a better lie, and I didn't, and no one would ever find out. Well, maybe they will. Maybe the Eidim will recognize the signatures. It's so easy for Eidim to notice a small change in their signature. So the Rabbi Yaakov says it could be other scenarios. You could have other people might testify for their chasima, or there'll be other shtoros that these Eidim signed on. There are multiple ways to be Makayim a good forgery. If you bring along other documents that these Eidim have signed, based in you could convince a based in that these are in fact valid signatures, right? So that's what the Rashbam says. Inami third pshat is Motzi l'chaimo be'edim shekorim shechosmuloi. Another way is, which is even worse. We're going worse in terms of his behavior. He could be makayim it with false Eidim who signed for him, right? So this I think means that it's not really clear exactly. He says Motzi l'chaim can fulfill it with Eidim shekorim shechosmuloi with false. It doesn't mean.
He couldn't. He's lost the original document.
Yeah.
With Reuven and Shimon signing, he concocts another one, gets Levi and Yehuda to sign the other one, and hopes it'll pass.
Yeah. But he hasn't. How's he going to be Makayim this document? How's he going to establish the truth of this document based in?
Because no one's going to remember which Eidim signed the original document. No,
but he says here he's going to establish the truth of this document with Eidim Shekorim.
Yeah.
Shechosmu. What?
The Eidim Shekorim, but then the other two, Levi and Yehuda.
You got another two Eidim?
Yes.
What would they do? What did they do for him?
They signed
something else.
The second show, yeah.
One second.
No, I'm saying,
But it's not the same. It's not. They're not.
I don't necessarily remember which of the agents that signed that. There's a landing that has lots of transactions. You can't remember necessarily the agent. So he brings a very good-looking forgery with two other agents, who've got it. I think that's a stellar forgery.
It seems to be, yeah, it seems to be saying that basically what he can do is he's got his pet 2 Adim that he's used the previous forgeries. This guy's maybe a serial forger. And he can just bring those 2 Adim to Beis Din, and those 2 Adim will basically will basically kind of like cooperate in the story, basically. So in other words, basically what we're dealing with here is one of 3 options as to what exactly the scenario is. The first option is Rabbeinu Hananel's pshat, which is that no, it wasn't really forged. It wasn't really forged. It was a shtar mona, and that's why he would have got away with it. The second 2 pshatim of the Rashbam are basically variations on the same theme, that it was a complete forgery, but he would have got away with it, right? And therefore, says Rabbah, Malo l'shaka, why should he lie? Why should he lie? We should believe him. Now, Rav Yosef doesn't like that, right? There's one more Rashbam, sorry, just on the technical point. Lochish le Rabbah, he whispered to Rabbah Garcinon, this is the right text, he says, to Rabbah Molach Mekamed Rav Yosef. Rabbah was the in charge, the Rosh Yeshiva, whatever, before Rav Yosef. He was the, I think he was the more than the Rosh Yeshiva, I think he was the head in Bovel, and he was beforehand, or maybe it was Rosh Yeshiva from Badisa, I can't remember. It was a whole sugya there in Brachos. Rav Yosef Chavera Makshelo. Rav Yosef, his friend, would ask questions to him. There's a whole thing about who took over and when they took over. In other words, that's why he whispered to Rabbah, and then it was Rav Yosef who responded. Now, what does Rav Yosef respond? Look at the next Rashbam. Why are you relying on this shtar? This shtar is a forgery. There's no years of chazaka, right? And this shtar, this document, is a complete forgery. Now, why is it a forgery? To kivon de Odi, since he's admitted. He said it's a forgery. He said in shtar Zeifel, it's a forgery. So what about the logic? The Malo l'shaka of Rabbah, right? Why would he lie? You know, this whole logic. But lo domi, says Rav Yosef, l'shar Malo l'shaka shebe Gemora. It's not comparable to other cases of Malo l'shaka. Why would he lie? The logic, the migo in the Gemara. Sheshtei tainos yecholos lios emes. In that case, both claims could be true. Osa shehu toyin, the one he claims, the osa shehu haya yochol litzayin v'lotan, and the one he could have claimed but didn't. Both of them, normally, in a case of the migo, both are options. One was a better one, and one was a worse one, but both could have been true. Migo, then we say migo, he could have said the better one. Over here. This is like trying to present an argument of a migoy, a malo l'shaker, where there are edim against it, where edim are counteracting. Why is that? Why is it edim? Sharei, because kol koicho v'cheskoso b'karkazu, his entire strength and chazaka in this land, alidei haishtaru. It's everything is based on this document. How can you say that malo l'shaker? Why would he lie? Like you apply a logical argument to this document, right? That you say he could have, if he wanted, he could have said it was a valid star. He agrees shashtar posel. He agrees the star is possible. This is really coming to your point. He agrees the star is possible. The star is no good. And the admission of the Baldin is like 100 witnesses. And he's admitted that it's false. He said it's a false star, right? Yeah, well, yeah. This is the whole, look, the Rashbam is getting to the key point now. And if 2 Adim came along and said it's possible, what would happen if 2 Adim came along and said it's possible, declared in Beis Din? There's no malo l'shaka. There's no migoy anymore. The halacha is migoy b'mokum edim lo yamrinu. One of the constraints on a migoy is if I have edim and you have a migoy, we say goodbye to you because a migoy can never be edim. Doesn't matter how good your logic is. Based in, believe me, because I gave you a crazy story, and because I gave you a crazy story, and I could have given a much better story, and I didn't. Therefore, I must be right. Based in turn around to you and say, thank you very much. That was a really good try. You get a lot of points for effort, but it's irrelevant. I heard him say that, quite amusing. And not maybe not to people, but afterwards, when discussing a case, sometimes you say you get points for effort, but it doesn't get you over the line at the end of the day, right? You get Eidim.
Yeah, one's construct, one's the real.
Yeah, it doesn't work. In the hierarchy of proof, right? Eidim is like a mountain, and Ma'aleh l'shak is a little hill, so it doesn't beat it. Okay. Now the twist here is that there are no Eidim, right? There are no Eidim. But Rav Yosef's logic is that since he has admitted that the star is false, and the halacha is Hodas Baldin, the admission of one of the parties themselves is the same as 100 Eidim, then as soon as you've admitted that the star is false, you have set up a scenario where there can be no migoy in your defense. No. Well, one or two makes a difference. Once you get to two. Once you get to two, it makes it.
Because he's testified against himself.
That's right. That's right. Effectively. Because he's admitted himself that it's false, and therefore it's not quite what Eli wants to say. It's still not going to make Eli entirely happy. No, because again, I'm saying this because again, your argument was this guy's a crook, so forget it, close the door on him. That's not quite what we're saying. We're saying that there is a logic, there is a logical argument he can make here, right? But he's beaten by Eidim. So it's just not. It's just that's why it's no good. And that's what Rav Yosef means when he says, "Why are you relying on this star? This star is chaspa ba'alma. The star is nothing. It's earthenware. It's pottery." What does he mean? He means that the logic, the svara, the migoy rests on the document, and the document is clearly false. He's admitted it's false. There are Eidim that it's false, and therefore the migoy is nothing. All right, that's the reason.
But to Eli's point, just because someone's a crook doesn't make them well. Is the reason. I.e.,
well,
in the sense of it, I think you're trusting their word. I get that. What I'm saying is it's not quite enough to say just because somebody is a bit dishonest doesn't make them not the owner of this land. What makes them not the owner of this land is the Eidim.
You can bring other evidence.
well, second, you've got Eidim
that
say that he's not. What do they? Well, okay, I don't understand. What do you mean?
My point is one of just pure justice.
Right.
The reason why it's dismissed is not because he's a crook.
Right.
It's because just because somebody's a crook doesn't make them wrong. Yeah.
But Eli argues that it does. You can't listen to crooks.
It's not a matter of listening to them. It's a matter of
It may not be a crook here. You mean?
it might not be a crook here. Yeah. And even if so he's telling a lie. The point is who owns the land? If the land is his, it's still his. Yeah, if I've got a piece of land and I come into Basin and tell a whole bunch of tall tales,
right,
yeah, and then they can turn up and confirm confirm for other reasons that I am the owner of that land. I'm still the owner of that land. Even though I've come in with a whole cockamamie story. Yeah. And I didn't know there were actually just Aiden out there who happened to witness the same. And so I've come up with
effectively. In other words, what you're saying is Basin will say, look, we really don't like this guy. But ultimately, we don't have to like him. We just have to say what's right halachically, is it his or not? That's right. Absolutely, we can put that in big letters on top of Basin, but ultimately, we can't necessarily take the land away from him.
Yes, that's the point. It doesn't not make him a liar.
He's not going to be. You're not going to hold him up as a paradigm of virtue. That's right. Yeah.
But if you lie in court,
yes.
You kind of
He did lie in court, but he also immediately explained what he meant. He explained to Rabbi. Rabbi was there, and he said, "Yes, it's false." Okay. As soon as he was challenged, although not quite, because when he was challenged, only when he was challenged did he admit what the story was. So it's a bit unedifying, but I have to tell you, that is the deal. Okay. Meaning that's the deal. You get on people who are unedifying and people who behave. As one of the Chaim said to me recently, your rubbish is our business. Unfortunately, that's often the case in Basra. One of them said to me.
It's not the best strap, I think.
They raise it from the tape. No. It wasn't. Let me be clear. Yeah, what it says on the bit. No, let me be clear. Not in respect of everything, but you have to deal with people as they are people, right? It was in respect of a particular case, a particularly recalcitrant husband. In fact, it was really, it was a case. Whatever it was, not husband. It was a very messy case. It was a messy case from Xeris, whatever it was. Right? It was a case where we're dealing with a serious mess that's been created not through anyone else's business, but we have to try and help people.
Stop it, that this woman doesn't anything know what it costs. Thank you.
Not very nice.
I pretend, because I did a PhD, I pretend I can spell.
Yeah.
Okay, I still.
It's a treatment collection.
So, anyway, so the point. No, but I mean that seriously. It's a bit of a joke, that line, obviously, right? But it's not. The point is let's say worship means a based in. That's the deal. That's the job. It's a messy world. You're dealing with messy people in a messy world, and who do things that you don't want them to do, and they might walk in and swear at you. I've seen that happen. It's unbelievable, right? I've seen it happen. They'll swear at the day on him. Okay, it's horrific. Yeah, how can they do that? Because you're dealing with people at their worst sometimes. That's just how it is, right?
In that scenario, it doesn't make their case any.
Exactly.
The answer's
Exactly.
the answer.
You still got to find the right answer. You may hate the guy.
Yeah.
What did you say?
It's unsavory.
Another chance.
Yeah.
Chance to find this legal and give him the land.
Yeah.
And Yosef saying the fact that he's self-incriminated.
Yes. No, means there's no log, there's no migo. That's Rav Yosef's argument. There's no migo. If there's no migo, because the migo is based on a document of which there is effectively edus that it's false. That's a ziyuf. And because of that, you've got no migo. If you've got no migo, then it would seem, Rav Yosef says, but it goes back to the other guy. The guy's because you've got no evidence that it's yours. Okay, that's the machlokas Rav and Rav Yosef. Now look at the next case, which is the parallel of this. It's almost exactly the same case. The arguments in this case are exactly the same, except the facts are slightly different. Someone said to someone else, "Havli me'el zuzi, give me 100 zuz to masikna boch that you owe me, right? Right? I lent you money. I lent you 100 zuz, and I want it back. The hoshtara. And here's the document. Amalei said to him, "Shtara zayfohu." It's a false document. Same thing. Gochin lochish le Rabba. He bent down. He whispered to Rabba, "In shtara zayfohu." Yeah, it's a false document. Of course it is. I agree. Me, however, shtara ma'ali havali ve'erchas. I had a good document and I lost it. Same thing. Va'amino, and I said, "Inkit hai bidoi koldahu." I would have this document in my hand. At least it's something. Exactly the same. Same machlokas. Amar Rabba ma'ala l'shaka. Rabba says ma'ala l'shaka. Why should he lie? If he wanted, he could have said to him that it's a valid document. That's what he could have said if he wanted to, and he would have been believed. And therefore, he's believed when he said it was a forgery, but I really did have one. I really did have a document that you owe me £100. Amalei Rav Yosef said back to him, Michael Samachta Haishtara. Why are you relying on this document? The shtar is worthless because he's basically admitted that it's worthless, right? And therefore, there's no migya mokamedin, the same thing. And therefore, he can't claim it's 100 zuz, it's 100 coins. Now, this is it. The Rashbam says, full words. It's the same achlokas and the same reason, right? Exactly the same. You're looking for a difference, it's the same. What's the difference? Land and money. And that makes a difference, right? It makes a difference in psak, and it's a fascinating thing. Omar of Idi Bar Ovin. Rav Idi Bar Ovin said, Hilchas HaKavosei de Rabba Ba'ara, the Hilchas HaKavosei de Rav Yosef Bezuzi. The halacha is like Rabba when it comes to land, and the halacha is like Rav Yosef when it comes to money. Why? Hilchas HaKarabba Ba'ara. The halacha is like Rabba with land, the Heicha de Chaim Ara Tekum. That wherever the land is, that's where it stays. Now, where is the land in the first case at the moment? The person who's claiming that it's his, that he bought it, okay? And therefore, it stays with him. The Hilchas HaKavosei de Rav Yosef Bezuzi, the halacha is like Rav Yosef with money, Teicha, the Kaimei Zuzi, like me. That wherever the money is, that's where the money stays. Where's the money? It's with the other guy. Yeah, that's right. The one he's claiming you borrowed money from me, and I've got a document, etc., etc. And Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef says, we can't believe the shtar, and therefore it stays with. Rav Yosef stays with the person who owes the money. Now, okay, so this is very interesting. Do you understand what's happened here? Fundamentally, we haven't resolved the machlokas. We have a machlokas in Rabbah and Rav Yosef. And Ravidi Bar Ovin doesn't, well, let's learn it first like the Rashbam, see if we have time for Tosis. The Rashbam, Ravidi Bar Ovin doesn't resolve the machlokas. He just says that in this case, the halacha is like him, in this case, the halacha is like him. Now, this is a fundamental problem. Why? Oh, why? Does it? No, but he's got another reason to believe him. That's okay. He's got a star. He's got a star. He's got a star. No, but Rabba's got a svara to believe him. They've had a good star. Doesn't know Cheskas Sabatim. Meaning Cheskas Sabatim has its place where I don't have a star, and it's been 3 years, and therefore I can prove through Chazaka. He's going a different route. He's saying, I've got a kosher star. This is a full star, right? So Rabba says, yeah, but we believe you because of the Mika, right? Again, we come back to it. I'm looking much simpler than that. Very simple, very simple. How could the halacha be like Rabba in one place and Rav Yosef in the other? There's a machlok, they disagree, right? How can you say with land it's like him and with money it's like him? Either there's an argument in svara here. Think about it, right? There's a svara. Rabba has a svara. Migoy, believe him. He's got a migoy. Rav Yosef says no. Migoy mokom edim. Can't believe a migoy in a place of edim. You can't have your cake and eat it. Either you go with Rabba's logic, in which case you believe him because there's a svara and there's a migoy and therefore it's yours, and that means you should be able to claim the money too. Land, money, it should be yours in both cases. You understand? Or you don't, because you say migoy mokom edim and we don't say migoy if there's edim, and if you go with that, it should be the same in land and money. So why should there be a difference in land and money? Which is? No, the arguments are exactly the same in both cases. No, that's one thing. So that's why you're going to try and tease out a discrepancy between the two. Who is being the most? Okay, that's what Rashbam's going to do. All right, let's see the Rashbam. Rashbam's going to do that. Look at the Rashbam. So yeah, this is the last Rashbam on the sugya. But also din rishon de la'el. You with me? About 5 lines before it gets wide. But also din rishon de la'el. In that original case, the first case, so then full stop. Now, Masab Kalela Ravidi Bar Ovin, Tam Shalmi Mishneim Nira Yosef. Ravidi Bar Ovin says Rashbam has a doubt. He's not sure which reason is better. He's just not sure. On the one hand, Rabba sounds great. Migoy, logic. On the other hand, it's Migoy Mokamedim, so it's not very good after all, right? So he's not sure, right? Hilkoch, therefore, Posik Barishan Karabo. Yeah, that's Rabbi Yosef's reason. That you can't say a miga because there's Adus against it, because he's admitted that it's false. Yeah, and Adus beats a miga, exactly. Hilkach, therefore, because he's not sure, Posik Barishan Karabo, he paskins in the first place like Rabba, the Amrinon Mala Shaker, that we say, why should he lie? The Yamod al Mitchoy, and he gets to keep what he's bought. Since it's not clear and it's not resolved, it is unresolved. Who is right? Rabba and Rav Yosef. Yeah, you say whoever's got you want to take it away from me, so prove it. I've got the land now. It's not clear who's right, Rabba and Rav Yosef. Ravidi Bar Ovin says it's fundamentally a sophic. I don't know who's right. I don't know who's right, Rabba or Rav Yosef. So what do? We say that's how he resolves the case, according to Rashbam. Do you understand? He resolves the case not by saying, I think Rabba's svara is great. I think he's right, or I think Rav Yosef is right. I don't know who's right. So I'm going to go with Hamotzi Mechaver Lavarah. Yeah? Which means, in case one, who is holding the land? The person who claims he bought it. We discharge the logic. We don't go with logic because we don't know who's right. We don't know if Rabba's right or we don't know if Rav Yosef's right. Yes? Do we say Migoy or do we not? Because we don't know. So what do we say? You want the land? Prove it. You don't have a proof? No, I'll keep it. Thank you. Right?
And that applies to Mall and land.
No, that's just land. That's land.
That means that the first person who came and said, you stole my land.
Yeah.
Didn't have any aid to prove.
No, he's got no aid. No, that he stole. The first person didn't have any aid. No. He's claiming that it says.
He's claiming he's got actually no.
Remember, within 3 years, you don't need more than that. This is Eli's problem and why he's saying it destroys the whole Chizkabatim. But it's not simple. It's not so simple because of the Machlokes Ram Rav Yosef, because there is a possibility here of a migoy. We're just not sure whether that migoy stands or not, right? That's why it's unique and it doesn't destroy all cases of Chizkabatim. Because the argument would be Hey, on a second. Any case I can say that. I came into your land, yes, on Monday. On Tuesday, you turn up and knock on the door and say, excuse me, you're in my house. And I say, that was Eli's problem. Yeah? You bring a proof. Bring a proof. What's the answer? Of course you can't do that because you have to have documentation. Here, I've got a star. I've got a star. It's just that the star had problems with it. I had problems with it, and we have this svar of nigga. You know, it could have been. You know, that's why here there's a reason to potentially believe you, and that's why here you can say but with the money, it's the other way around. The gabi zuzi shalu v'muchsuk v'lo ba'al star. With money, who's muchsuk? Who has got the money at the moment? The borrower. The borrower. Ba'al star and the below ba'al star. The ba'al star doesn't have it. In that case, I'm rin on yovi ba'al star raya v'yitol. Then we say the owner of the document has to bring a proof and take it, right? The heichad the kaima ara takum, because wherever the land is in the first case, we keep it where it is. Below notes misophic, and we don't take it away because of a doubt. Money's the same. Heichad the kaimi leikum. Wherever the money is, the money stays. So, in other words, what we're saying is we're not saying that the reason why, okay, you keep you keep them in the second case, the guy can't take the money out, right? We're not saying that's that's because of it could be a dime. Are you still there?
Yeah, do you want to save battery or what?
No. I hope it lasts to the end. It's on very low battery. That's it. If it goes off, then message someone. Okay, can you still hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Right, let's turn the screen on. Now, basically, when it comes to the money, the second case, right, what's happening? The money, in the money case, right, he's coming along with an argument and he's saying, I should be able to take it away from you because I've got evidence. My evidence is I've got this star, right? And the star is not good. It's not good. It's not a good star. But there is a migo. There's a migo, which means I should be believed, right? I should be believed. Rav Yosef says the document's useless. It's chaspa ba'alma. It's worthless because you've admitted that it's worthless. Rav Vidi Bar Ovin doesn't paskin who is right and wrong. He says, on the contrary, I don't know. It's a sophic in din. It's a sophic who to paskin like. So in the second case, which means the halacha is like Rav Yosef. You understand? That's what he says, right? The Chaim halacha says the Rashbam, and this is the halacha. He's got a side problem here. In Kufiyat Aladam and base, we say the halachas of Rav Yosef in three cases. They're known as Soda, Inyan, and Mechza, just by the titles of those cases. That implies that in every other case, halachas like Rabbah are not Rav Yosef. So how here can we say the halachas like Rav Yosef? Here we pass on halachas like Rav Yosef. Lo kash is not a problem. This doesn't fit those cases because in this same debate, we also pass on like Rabbah because of a different reason. So in other words, he says doesn't fit the criteria for halacha Rav Yosef in only in these three cases. All right. The Rashbam has done something fascinating here. What he's done is that he has basically said that because we have a suffix in halacha, we call seikat dina, we have a suffix in din. We don't know who's right? Therefore, we go after wherever the person is, the chazaka now. Okay, all right.
Is it suffix in din or no? It's suffix in fact because we've just neutralized all the evidence. So you just don't know who's right, who's wrong. That's not a din problem. That's factual.
No, it's a suffix in din because we don't know who the halacha is like.
You know, the circumstances don't know.
It's a suffix in din. No, no, but it's not. Yes, but there's an argument that fundamentally the machlokas here is a machlokas in psak, like who to go like, who to paskin like. That's the machlokas.
That's based on facts.
It is based on facts, but it's based on.
The halach is clear that we've knocked out the star. That's clear.
No. Well, right, but then you have the migo, and the question is that migo valid or not? And there's two opinions. There's Rabbi and Rav Yosef. Can we rely on that and can we not? And that has a different outcome depending on who we go like, right? But Tosfos' problem with Rashbam is, if you look at Tosfos, the second Tosfos, He says, Rabbeinu Shmuel Pirish to Masakale Kaman Hilchasa. We have a suffix who the halach is like. You're going to have to make a big chiluk between sveiko de trey or trey and sveiko de dinner, between a suffix in din and a suffix of 2 against 2. Okay, we're not going to have time to see this today. Basically, it's worth seeing it next time, because it's a really, really fascinating question, which goes to the heart of how you resolve a situation which is fundamentally a suffix. We have a suffix how to paske.
Has chazaka on the land, just for the fact that he's on it. But really, we've been learning that that's not the case.
Who's got?
Idiot saying that
Yeah.
As a chazaka, he's on the land.
Yes.
So he has a chazaka on it.
Yes.
Isn't that exactly what we've been saying? You can't just do that. You can't just want them to.
No, he's not saying.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Well, he's sort of saying that. Yeah. This is Tosfos' problem. Okay, Tosfos says effectively, if it was 2 against 2, trey or trey, okay, you say cheskes morakama. If it's 2 Adam against 2 Adam, so we can't. Then what you do is exactly what Eli's saying. You go cheskes morakama. You go with the original owner. So Tosfos has a fundamental problem with Rashbam's approach, because what the Rashbam has done is made a distinction between a suffix how to pasken, who the halacha is like, and a suffix in evidence, which is evidence-based. If you have a doubt in based of evidence, they each bring 2 sets of edim. We don't know how to resolve this. We've learned the whole way along that the default position is therefore the morakama. I've said this many times, remember that, which is exactly what you're saying. And many, many times, the default position is morakama. Cheskes morakama, the original owner. It says, you want to take it away from the original owner? Prove it. You can't prove it? Back to him. Here, we're not saying that. Suddenly, we're trying to say there's a difference, that where there's a doubt how to pasken, then you don't necessarily go with cheskes morakama, the original owner. No, you go with who is currently there. And that's a problem. Okay, again, as I said, we have to see that it's worth seeing there's a different resolution of the sugya as a result of this. But there's another mitzvah another day. So okay, thanks for
Thank
joining.
you.
I'm pleased
Sure,
that
thank you.
I'm pleased to survive. All right. Have a good evening.